I welcome you all to our third episode of HR in the Corner office. I'm your host, Gunjan Garg, and today's topic, as you can see on your screen, attracting, developing, and retaining top talent. I have with me our host, Sumit Kapoor. Now, before we start, a little brief up about Sumit. He's the founder and CEO of Global Group Solutions Limited. He leads marketing, sales, and customer success teams and provides HR domain expertise for employee-wise product design. He has over 23 plus years of experience in IT industry and was the co-founder at Chipsoft Technology, a multi-vendor IT support services company. Also, he has pioneered SaaS in India by launching Smile CRM in 2001 and EmployeeWise in 2009. So, over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Gunjan. Glad to be back with our session, and we do have people still joining in, but as a respect to those who came on time, I think we will not wait any longer, and we will start now. So I'm assuming some of you have been tuning into this show that happens usually in the first week, the first Thursday of each month. This week we've had to reschedule it and have it have it today instead of Friday. Usually we do it on the first Friday of the month. And then I'm assuming some of you have been part of this show earlier. And just as a recap, this is our third episode, and in our first episode we had talked about the whole perspective of what the show is about, and we had talked about how this show will actually look at the view from the corner office, the view from the CEO, CXO's point of view, and also correlate that with how HR sees itself. And the underlying assumption is that HR has, and if it doesn't, it should have an aspiration to actually to have a seat on the table, so to say, to be seen as a strategic partner, and for every head of HR to actually work towards becoming a chief talent officer in the organization and a vital ally of the company's CEO. And it is really with that in mind that we set out doing this show. In last time's show, we had set out a whole list of things that HR should be doing towards getting into the corner office, so to say. And I keep using that phrase essentially to sum up what I just talked about, making HR more strategic. Today we are going to work on one specific area, which is attracting, developing, and retaining top talent. And this is a standard HR function, and my attempt today would be to actually give you a rundown on what is the difference really when you look at the same very function, the same very tasks from a strategic perspective, as opposed to how you look at it from a conventional HR perspective. And hopefully I will be able to spur you with some ideas, and we will get to hear some of your questions. As is the format right now, everybody else in this webinar is on mute. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and if you look at that little panel that would have opened on your screens from GoToWebinar, there is right in the middle of your screens, there will be a little box there, a little button there that allows you to raise your hand. If you can't find it, you will see the chat right at the bottom. Just type in a message, and Gunjan here will help you locate it and do that. Ideally, we would like you to actually speak out your questions so that everybody can hear, and we can all discuss it. But if for some reason you do not have audio capabilities or can't use this, then just type in your question, and Gunjan will read it out for me to try and respond to your question. Right, so let's get straight on. So we will start today's discussion with looking at attracting top talent and what does it take. And we're really trying to see this, wearing the CEO hat, so to say. So what we're really seeing is that, we go higher every day. So what is different when we try and see this from a different perspective. And I think one of the first things that is different is the zoom out that you do. Usually when we hire as HR, we are more focused on a specific position on hand or a bunch of positions that we've been asked to fill, and we go about looking for them. But once in a while, once a year or maybe 4 times a year, we also go back to the annual hiring plan and review it and build it. But this is something different. This is really stepping way back and looking at the business and seeing what is the aspiration of the business, what is our business's mission, where is it headed, how does it expect to grow, what's the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year perspective, what's the business plan for the next 3 years or 5 years, what size are we going to be, what geographies do we hope to be present in, what lines of business are we expecting to be involved in, and translate all of those into talent needs. Assume that you have achieved all of those things. What kind of an org structure do you see? What kind of names, what kind of people, what kind of profiles? So obviously, names is not the wisest thing to have said, but see it from the point of view of what kind of new roles would come up in the organization and how would they need to be filled. Put that together with what you have. How many of those people will get there, and how many new people would you need? So you need to get a sense of what kind of talent needs will the organization have as it grows and achieves its mission. The next thing we need to do is actually define the culture. Is to set up that, okay, what is the kind of company that we are and what is the kind of company we are going to be? And as we build this organization, what qualities, what cultural qualities, what value systems do we want in our people that will A, strengthen what we have if that's what we want to keep, or help us build what we are trying to do, what we're trying to become. And that's another very important thing, because we need to know what kind of people we need to bring in. And then, this is not about capabilities here. So I'm not talking about what kind of skills you're going to bring in. I'm not talking about what kind of qualifications you're going to bring in. I'm really talking about what kind of people you're going to bring in vis-a-vis the kind of culture that you have or the culture that you want. Because we know that, while the culture is driven from the top, it is also sustained and nurtured every day in the people down below. So, everybody matters. The third very important differentiation between this way of attracting top talent and the conventional way of attracting top talent is really knowing the capabilities that business needs. So you are no longer banking on a hiring request to contain the kind of skills that are needed. Sure, you're going to have that. That's your process, and then I hope you have a process like that. I know that those who use our system have something like that, and I'm sure you also have something similar. But this is not about that level of granularity. This is not about should have 5 years experience and should be a certified financial analyst, or should be an MBA, or should know genetic engineering. This is not about that. This is really about saying, as a business, what is critical for us? As a business, what is it that differentiates us from others? As a business, what is it that we need to do to make sure that our customers are happy? What qualities, capabilities do we need to have? And here is where you keep that as the overall template against which you evaluate your hiring, against which you see where a person fits in. And this is important because you don't know the person who's going to come in front of you to be hired may fit somewhere else, may have some other capabilities that you're looking for. And it's extremely important, even if you're not going to hire for that position, for you to always be able to look at a person and look at your whole business and understand as to where in our business would this person fit in today or tomorrow. And that perspective is an added strength in addition to whatever else you do today in terms of matching a person with the profile, the person in front with the profile in front of you. Building the brand equity obviously is a no-brainer, something that's very essential. But here we are really talking about long-term brand equity. We are talking about making sure that as an organization, as an employer, as a place, you are seen as a place where people build careers, not just get good jobs, where people come, where people stay, where people are happy, where people grow, where people professionally mature, where people contribute, where they are recognized. So how do you make sure that this is the image that goes out? You know, one of the best ways of building your brand equity obviously is to live your brand, right? But you know, if you live your brand, it should go out. But sometimes you actually need to also so-called publish the good things that you do, and you've got to make sure that the good practices and the things that you're doing in the organization get talked about, and you need to broadcast that, and that's really what building your brand equity is all about. Because you are now, this is like an environment that you're creating, this is like an enabler that you're creating that will ensure that over a period of time, as you go about building the best talent for your organization, you have this great positive to build upon. Very important, the build or buy model. So, you know, in simple terms, build or buy really refers to whether you're going to go out and hire every time you have a requirement, or you're going to hire people at a certain level and then start building them up to eventually fill and man those positions that you have in mind based on what your anticipated talent needs are. So this is an important decision, because a lot of what you do and a lot of systems and processes that you put in place towards this endeavor would largely be driven by this initial decision. So let me, you know, dwell on that a little bit. So if you, for example, decide that you're going to build talent, then a lot of your time and effort and money is going to get invested in hiring good people at a certain level, and then grooming them to develop them. And we have examples in India and outside of great companies. You know, we have companies like Hindustan Unilever in India, Procter & Gamble, GE. These are all companies that are famed for building great talent. I mean, an innumerable number of CEOs of many companies have actually come out of these companies. So these are almost known as CEO factories. So a lot of good people come out of these, because these companies intrinsically decided long time ago to build their talent. And therefore, most of the people you will find in their leadership positions have come up from within. On the other hand, you have real situations of young companies that didn't even exist as far back as some of the companies I talked about earlier. They've come about in the last 10 years or in the last 5 years. They're in industries where business models change. So there's a lot of flux. They don't even know what they're going to be 10 years from now. So either they've not existed or they don't know what they're going to be 10 years from now. They tend to follow a more buy model, which is, you know, when they need talent, they will go out and bring that talent in. And, you know, at some level, most companies are a bit hybrid. So at some levels you build and some levels you buy. But really what we're talking about is to understand that, are you going to largely build or largely buy? And that's very important as a decision. Related, obviously, is the decision on what is the intake point, right? And I think this is more relevant to the build model, because at a build model, you need to understand what is your intake level. So, you know, companies like Lever,